When you come into the state of Michigan for the first time, one of the things you're going to notice is that you can't make your usual left turn in many places. Now, this wasn't as huge a shock to me as it would be to most, as I had already heard from others about the left turns in Michigan prior to coming here. So you could say that I was a little prepared for it already. On this video, we're going to be talking about this design that is so prevalent around the state of Michigan and some of its advantages and disadvantages. I'll also talk about my personal experience in using the Michigan left for the first time and how well I think it works. Hit the like button, subscribe if you love the content, and let's talk about the state of Michigan. So first off, what is the Michigan left? In countries where traffic drives on the right side of the roadway, the left turn is one of the most dangerous and disruptive movements in traffic flow. Many different methods have been tried and implemented by traffic engineers to remedy the left turn. Some of you may recall when we talked about the New Jersey Jughandle a while back, a movement that uses a cloverleaf type ramp to make all turns occur from the right, effectively removing all left turns from the main intersection. Well, the Michigan left is a movement that also accomplishes this goal, albeit in a different manner. The Michigan left is used at intersections where there is at least one divided road or main road that is intersected by a minor undivided roadway. Though in some instances it can also be used when both roads are divided. With the Michigan left, traffic on the main road is faced with the option to turn right in the intersection or continue through it in order to turn left. The left turn is accomplished by a U-turn movement shortly after the main intersection, which may or may not be signalized depending on the area. The U-turn must be placed within a quarter mile of the main intersection and provide ample room for traffic to potentially queue. The U-turns must also provide enough space for semi-trucks and other large vehicles to complete the movement, and you can see the additional space provided along them. After making the U-turn, the driver then heads back to the intersection where a right turn can now be made to effectively complete the left turn. For traffic on the minor road, the right turn must be made in order to turn left. The driver enters the intersection, turns right, and then uses the U-turn movement that drivers on the main road also use. After making that U-turn, the driver continues straight through the intersection, thus completing the left turn from the minor road. Michigan lefts can either be 1 or 2 lanes, with 2 lanes usually reserved for higher capacity intersections. Traffic markings on the road will mark whether or not the U-turn is designed for 2 lanes, even though in some cases the single lane looks wide enough for 2 vehicles. Another variation of the Michigan left is where the minor road does not cross the divided roadway. In this case, all traffic from the minor road must turn right, and a U-turn movement is provided shortly afterwards. Traffic wanting to continue to the other side of the minor road, or traffic from the minor road that wanted to turn left onto the divided roadway, can use this U-turn. The name Michigan left was adopted as the state was at the forefront of building these intersections as far back as the 1960s, though today you can find them occasionally in other states and even in other countries, or some variation of them. An example of the divided roadway intersecting a minor roadway can be found at the intersection of 9 Mile Road and Telegraph Road near Detroit, while you can see a slightly modified version of it further south in Detroit where Telegraph Road intersects Grand River Avenue. On the eastern leg of this intersection, Short Street merges into Grand River Avenue, and the U-turn is placed further away from the main intersection. Continuing to use Telegraph Road as an example, you can see several U-turn areas placed all along the highway, even where there is no crossing intersection. And this appears to be for allowing traffic to enter and exit the businesses along the road to make U-turn movements without having to drive all the way to the next signalized intersection. So how well do these Michigan left intersections work? Similar to the New Jersey Jughandle, the obvious and most significant benefit is the elimination of the left turn conflict point in the intersection. Left turns are the most dangerous source of crashes along most major roadways, and it also causes the most delay in intersections. With it being completely eliminated, the intersection is automatically made safer and traffic flow improved for through traffic. Traffic can also clear the main intersection more quickly as the phases required for left turns are eliminated. For the most part, the intersection can operate with only phases for through traffic, as right turns in most cases can operate with permissive yellow signals or turn on red. Michigan DOT says that its first Michigan left intersection at 8 Mile Road and Livernois Avenue in the 1960s significantly improved traffic flow and caused a 30 to 60% reduction in traffic accidents. So they went ahead and built more than 700 of them since then. Michigan DOT also says that the Michigan left increases bicyclist safety. Bicyclists can use a Michigan left as a pedestrian, dismounting the bicycle and crossing in the pedestrian area, or as a bicyclist riding through the Michigan left and using the designated median crossover to navigate a U-turn. Pedestrians are only required to cross one direction of traffic at a time and wait in the median to cross the other direction. By removing the left turn at the intersection, it's also safer for pedestrians to cross, as the left turn is not only dangerous for drivers, but all modes of transportation through an intersection. So this intersection sounds pretty amazing, right? But if it's this good, then there must be some type of drawback since many other states have not adopted them. And the number one drawback, like the New Jersey Jughandle, is driver confusion. Most drivers are accustomed to making left turns directly inside of an intersection. In states other than Michigan, where this left turn was introduced, the results can be less than ideal. In the Dallas, Texas suburb of Plano, a Michigan left was installed at the intersection of Legacy Drive and Preston Road. After 4 years of use, local traffic engineers said it was a success from a traffic standpoint, but many locals in the area began to avoid the intersection altogether rather than make the Michigan-style left turn through it. It got me completely turned around. I was very confused. I'm glad they're getting rid of it, commented Plano resident Seagram Kern. I think it's not necessary. It would be much easier to turn left instead of loop around, remarked Plano resident Liz Brown. And eventually, after a large number of complaints, the design was abandoned and reverted to a traditional intersection that can be found there today. Another downside of the Michigan left is for those who are making the left turns or through traffic from the minor road when there is no crossing intersection. The Michigan left requires left-turning drivers to drive through the intersection and then pass through 2 signals in order to complete the left turn. This makes the left turn an overall slower movement for those vehicles. Whereas in a traditional intersection, the left-turning traffic will only have to drive up to the main intersection itself and wait for 1 signal in order to complete the left-turn movement. For traffic on the minor road, wanting to get through the intersection when there is no crossing intersection present, they must turn right, travel down the main road for a bit, and then pass through 2 signals in order to get to the other side of the intersection. In a traditional intersection, this movement is accomplished with just 1 signal through the main intersection. And that is the general rundown on the Michigan left. So what was my experience with it? Well, I had already heard plenty of stories about this left turn before I got there. I came into Michigan from South Bend, Indiana, checked out Kalamazoo, and headed up to Grand Rapids for a few days. I didn't really notice any in those areas, so I wondered if I was missing something. But it was once I got into the Detroit area that I started to see the signs. And I realized that this is the Michigan left that everyone was talking about. Though most Americans' brains are programmed to be able to make the direct left turn to access businesses or roadways on the opposite side of the highway, I didn't find this one as difficult to adjust to as the New Jersey Jughandle. It could be due to the fact that the Michigan left still requires moving into the left lane for the U-turn, rather than New Jersey making you turn right to go left. And also, back when I worked in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina, we had a super street designed along US 74 that is considered a similar variation of the Michigan left, so I was already somewhat used to it. I think the biggest adjustment is simply getting used to not being able to turn left inside the intersection itself. With the Michigan left, there's often a left turning lane that opens up before the signal, but you can't actually turn left in the intersection. It is instead used to provide additional queuing space for traffic about to enter the U-turn. So initially I found myself feeling like I may have missed my turn if there was a business on the other side that I wanted to reach. But after being in the area for a while, you realize that on major arterials like Telegraph Road, there are multiple opportunities to make a U-turn even if you drive past where you thought you were supposed to turn. And over time your brain adjusts and you expect to use the Michigan left turn on most major roadways in Michigan. And if you don't, the DOT will remind you with the big green sign as well as the no turn signage at all these intersections. Now, obviously, since I'm an engineer, I like the design. I can't count how many tragic crashes I've seen from left turning traffic across a roadway. Even the last accident that I was in myself involved some lady too impatient to yield to oncoming traffic, thinking she could beat it, and she got hit instead. The Michigan left all but eliminates this foolishness, so I'm all for it. Then, of course, I could recognize how smooth the through traffic moved on these roadways compared to major arterials with traditional left turns. Everyone who wants to turn has their own lane and queue area, while the through traffic only has to stop for a single cross traffic phase at the signal and a shorter U-turn phase for those turning onto the roadway from the other side. Overall, the New Jersey Jughandle does move traffic more quickly, but this one doesn't require as much space since there's no need for a cloverleaf style ramp. But there it is, folks. That's how you turn left in Michigan, the Michigan left. Have you been up to Michigan to experience these for yourself? If so, what did you think about it? Have you seen any of these in any other states? And how do you think it compares to the New Jersey Jughandle? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.